So what happened to the band that once tongue-in-cheek called themselves the worst band in the world? I take a look at the hard-to-categorize 10cc coming up next on Music Meanderings. Hi, I'm Mike Lamneck. It is Music Meanderings, and thank you for tuning in. Won't you take the time to leave a comment and subscribe if you like the channel? Also, if you would like to be notified of future Music Meanderings, be sure to hit the bell. It all helps out the channel. Well, primarily known for their two hit singles, I'm Not in Love and The Things We Do for Love in the U.S., few bands from the 1970s occupied the same space as 10cc does. At times celebrated, underrated, perhaps misunderstood. I mean, why would a band even jokingly refer to themselves as the worst band in the world? It was all part of the sly humor and unpredictability that fans loved about 10cc. Known for their sophisticated songwriting, studio wizardry, and witty humor, 10cc created some of the decade's most inventive pop music. Formed in Manchester in 1972, they emerged from earlier collaborations between Graham Goldman, Eric Stewart, Kevin Godley, and Lowell Cream. Now, Goldman had already written hits for the Yardbirds, the Hollies, and Herman's Hermits, and Stewart was a studio veteran at the time with the talent for production. Godley and Cream, meanwhile, were art school innovators, very experimental and eccentric. Now, my experience with the band started with the single Wall Street Shuffle. Loved hearing that on the AM radio. My older brother actually had it on 45, and I was just old enough to catch on to some of the humor and lines like, "Oh, Howard Hughes, did your money make you better? And I bet you sell your mother, you can buy another." I was able to pick up a copy of their early greatest hits collection, 100cc, on cassette at a garage sale. And that exposed me to some of their other European hits that had never received airplay on most American radio stations. Songs like The Worst Band in the World, Silly Love, and Rubber Bullets. In fact, I got a copy here. Yeah, here it is. 100cc. I was able to replace that on vinyl. In fact, on the back, it even mentions the radio station in my area that broke the song Wall Street Shuffle. How cool is that? Well, then came their golden years from 1972 to 1978. 10cc had 5 consecutive UK top 10 albums, sheet music, the original soundtrack, How Dare You, Deceptive Bins. That's really one of their breakthrough albums, I think, in the U.S. anyhow, with that great Hypnosis album cover art there. And also Bloody Tourist, released in 1978. Now, the band also had 12 singles reach the UK top 40. 3 were chart toppers, Rubber Bullets, I'm Not in Love, and Dreadlock Holiday. Of the 3, I'm Not in Love was their breakthrough worldwide hit, known for its innovative, lush, coarse backing track. Even with all that success, by 1976, 10cc found itself being creatively divided. Godley and Cream wanted to pursue increasingly more experimental ideas, including long-form pieces, avant-garde concepts, and the possibilities of emerging technology like Gizmo or Gizmotron. It was a guitar infinite sustain device that they had invented. Now, on the other side of the creative split, Goldman and Stewart wanted to stick to a more accessible approach, crafting more commercially acceptable pop songs. Unfortunately, what's easy to see in retrospect eluded the band at the time. That is, it was precisely the combination of those 2 creative elements that was bringing them success in the first place. Now, Godley and Cream grew disillusioned with the band's direction. They left to pursue their own project after recording 1976 How Dare You. The pair released a sprawling triple album called Consequences, designed to showcase that Gizmotron device and explore their new vision. Unfortunately, the album proved to be commercially disappointed, and Godley and Cream eventually found success as pioneering music video directors, more behind the scenes in the 1980s. But you've seen their work hit MTV videos like The Police, Every Breath You Take, Duran Duran, Girls on Film, a couple of hit songs for Asia. They did Herbie Hancock's Rocket and a video for Frankie Goes to Hollywood. They even managed to produce a major hit song and video for themselves. Cry, released in 1985. Used a new, at the time, image morphing technology to create an iconic music video. Well, after the split, the other half of the band, Stewart and Goldman, kept the 10cc name alive. They jokingly considered calling the band 5cc, but stuck with the 10cc name. Their first post-breakup record, 1977's Deceptive Bends, produced the band's second biggest international hit, The Things We Do for Love. The follow-up, Bloody Tourist, brought another hit, Dreadlock Holiday, a reggae tune based on Stewart's real-life experiences in Barbados. However, the hits would dry up after that. Later albums, including 1980's Look Here and 1981's 10 out of 10, failed to sell. That's a real shame, too. 10 out of 10 is classic 10cc, one of my favorite albums by them. It definitely deserves another listen. The 1983 album Windows in the Jungle would be their last attempt at recapturing the old glory, but by the mid-1980s, 10cc was essentially inactive. Now in 1992, the band briefly reunited, including all four original members, to record Meanwhile. But even though expectations were high, the reunion was more symbolic than anything. Godley and Cream contributed vocals, but weren't really involved in writing or production all that much. Stewart later expressed disappointment with how rushed and corporate the process had felt. The album underperformed, and the creative spark that once defined 10cc didn't reignite. Stewart left the band soon after, effectively ending any fully collaborative incarnation of 10cc in the future. Now, beginning in the late 1990s, Graham Goldman began leading a touring version of the band, and that lineup continues to perform today. Now, they focus primarily on live tours and faithfully reproduce their greatest hits and fan favorites from 10cc's catalog. A live video recorded in London entitled Clever Clogs was released in 2008 and even features Kevin Godley joining in on a few songs. Now, while some fans will debate whether the group is really 10cc without Godley or Cream or Stewart, it's interesting to note that Goldman is the only member that appears on every original 10cc album. Meanwhile, Kevin Godley has remained active as a director and creative collaborator. And in 2017, he released Muscle Memory, in which fans submitted unfinished musical pieces for him to build songs around. That's a really cool concept. He's also published a book called Space Cake that chronicles his multifaceted career. Now, Lowell Cream continued directing and producing music into the 2000s, though he's maintained a lower public profile than Godley. And Eric Stewart, well, he's largely retreated from the public eye, but has also released some solo albums and an autobiography, Things I Do for Love. 10cc's legacy has grown stronger with time, hasn't it? Their music, once hard to categorize, is now celebrated for being sophisticated, funny, innovative. They occupy a unique space, too clever really for straightforward pop, yet too melodic for progressive rock purists. If ever a band fit into the art rock genre, it's probably 10cc. Songs like I'm Not in Love are now recognized as masterpieces of early studio production. There's a video worth searching out that details how the band accomplished that lush choral effect in the days before digital production, using multiple tape decks and overdubbing. Godley and Cream sought experimental freedom. Stewart and Goldman aimed for crafted pop perfection. Both sides were right. both visions were essential to the band's best material. Well, thanks for watching. Please like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more music meanderings.